Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jen Marples Show. Today, I've got a gorgeous guest, and she is Lizzie Bermudez. She has been on the show before. She's a friend of the Jen Marples Show, and she is the Jen Marples Show podcast guest number one. And for those of you who do not know her, she is a midlife content creator right now in the current current form of what she's doing. And she is a pro age enthusiast, and she is a former TV broadcaster, Emmy Award winning. And we actually met 100,000 years ago when I used to have my PR firm. So we've had three different crossing overs in life. And so we met when I had my PR firm and she was on TV in San Francisco. And then we reconnected years later when we were both, drum roll please, we were cast on a reality TV show that went nowhere, but that happened. And then we reconnected I don't know, about 4 to 5 years ago, as we started our sort of midlife empowerment journey together to serve all of you beautiful women. So she is on today talking about motherhood. So our topic today, and this is, I have the perfect title for this podcast, Motherhood in Midlife Can Be a Motherfucker. And so coming off of Mother's Day and it's Mental Health Awareness Month, we are actually going to be talking about a very serious topic today. And that is when your child is in distress or you're caring for a loved one, and the stress and strain and the load it puts on us. And she is going to share some tips and tools and a lot of really wonderful wisdom. So you will all, if you are dealing with this yourself or you have people, good friends or family members who are dealing with either kids in distress or dealing with any type of issue or family issues, that you will have some tips and tools. So I'm calling this a deep dive. I'm probably starting a new series, within this podcast where we really take one topic and we kind of have a deep dive and get into personal stories and anecdotes and things that have happened to us, because the comments don't lie. You all are really liking these deeper dives into, we all love our tips and tools, and those are included here, but I think it's very powerful when we share our wisdom and knowledge and talk about the hard things as well as the fun things and the growth things and the rocking midlife things. We also have to honor the parts of midlife that aren't so easy, and parenting is one of them. And I know a lot of us are dealing with a lot of things. So hats off to you. Happy couple days after Mother's Day. I know you really will love this conversation with Lizzie. She is a dear friend, and she's really laying it all out for us, in the hopes that you all feel like you're not alone. So enjoy today's episode. Lizzie, hello, welcome back. Welcome back. And everybody, as another reminder, even though I just gave that beautiful introduction of Lizzie, podcast guest number one.
Yeah.
You were podcast guest numero uno. You were here at ground zero.
I know.
Here we are, over 200 episodes. But most importantly, we've been on this beautiful journey together. We've been on this midlife journey. We've been on this business building journey together.
Right.
We've been on a parenting journey together. We've been on all the journeys. Somebody asked me today, was like, did we interview like 5 years ago? And I'm like, no, but it feels like that because, we've been doing a lot of things for a really long time. But I'm so glad that you're here to talk to me about a really important thing. And y'all, this is hysterical. So I came up with the title of this podcast, and Lord help me if it's not the title that you clicked on. And that is Motherhood and Midlife Can Be a Motherfucker. And that's what we are talking about today. So we are recording this, on the heels of Mother's Day and all those millions of posts that we read, all of our own personal experiences. And I know Mother's Day is so fraught. So many of you have recently lost mothers. A dear friend of mine just lost her mother 2 days ago. And we are mothers.
So hard.
So many. And we've also, there are kids who have been lost. We've lost our favorite aunts. I lost a favorite aunt who never had any of her own children, but she was like a second mom, who's dear to me. So there's all this happiness, there's sadness, and we're living that, midlife duality that you and I have talked about on this very show before. So y'all, when I was thinking about this motherhood conversation because I like to, when I feel something in my heart that I know we have to talk about, we got to talk about it. That's how I roll. I can't really plan these things too far out. So I needed to bring my girl Lizzie on to talk about motherhood, and that motherhood can be a motherfucker. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be like the
It
greatest.
sure has been lately.
And Lizzie's dealing with something, and it really uh I wasn't going to say like chronic, but she's dealing with something that's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not chronic, hot, not hot. What is the word? It's going to come to me. It will come to acute. Is acute the word?
Oh, yes, acute.
Acute.
Yes.
I think acute is
Yeah.
the word. Like something
Yes,
acute
it
with
is.
one of her kids right now.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of you listening are dealing with a lot of things. And so I said, let's get into this conversation today because Lizzie, you said something really cool before we got on. And you said something about knowledge. Like if we don't share our knowledge,
Oh, yeah.
good.
My mother, my mother always dropped wonderful truth bombs on me when I was growing up. And I'd always, something would happen and then I'd come crying to her and I'd be like, oh my God, this is so horrible. Why me? Why me? And she's like, this is all like life wisdom that you're accruing as you age. And she says, the beautiful thing or the not so beautiful thing is you lose the wisdom if you don't share it. So whatever that life experience is, that lesson that you've learned. So, for me to hold on to everything that I've gone through, and I feel like I've learned exponentially over the last few years because of what we've been going through with our family. But if I don't share that, like that's like, why am I why did I go through it? It's to help somebody else who may be going through it or who feels alone or helpless. So yeah, it's like wisdom is to be shared. So that's why I'm here.
Well, I love that. And that is why, that's why I started the podcast. We got to share. We can't gatekeep. And
Right.
my original mantra for doing all this work with women was that when we share our deepest truths, we feel more connected and less alone. And
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to feel alone. So the topic today, y'all, is, motherhood is a motherfucker, but we're going to go in deep.
Yeah.
And this episode really is for you if you are dealing right now with a kid who's struggling in any way. And I know a lot of our teens are struggling because this is the world we live in today. And it could be something small from, like, I don't know what my girls deal with body image issues. And there's all these things going on. So Lizzie's going to talk about what she's dealing with. But we're going to talk about this kind of like intersection of where motherhood sort of rams up against your own personal hopes and dreams and career aspirations and things like that. And it can be really hard when we have our own plans for what we want to do. And of course, we do drop everything when something is not okay with our kids. And it could also be, dropping everything to deal with, to get these kids into college and all of that. If you've gone through that process, I've talked about it here on the show. There's just a huge load that we all carry on a day-to-day baseline level. And then there's
Right.
this incremental stuff that gets put on top of it when our kids aren't okay and they're having anxiety, depression, and they're dealing with all the things that our teens deal with today. So Lizzie, talk about what's going on with you right now, and then we're going to get into some of your really beautiful, generous tips and tools that you're going to share with everyone today, sort of coping mechanisms and resources.
Right, right. Well, I mean, you obviously know my background was being a TV journalist and a TV host for the ABC affiliate here in San Francisco. And then that turned into being a content creator. And so I've been creating content for women at midlife, menopause, pro-aging, the real shit. And feeling like, launched a podcast, felt like I had a lot of momentum going. We were doing it, started around the same time a few years ago. And about that same time, my youngest daughter, I have two daughters, one's in college and then one's still in high school. My youngest daughter has a lot of mental health issues, severe mental health issues to the point where I've had to, stay home to take care of her because she's been in and out of school and in and out of outpatient programs. So it meant for me having to, take a step back from working and from creating. And in that process, it's been a wild wild journey. Like, to be somebody, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are these, really strong, organized, go-getter type women. And then you kind of get hit with this. And like, there's no place I'd rather be than, taking care of my child, my daughter, and helping her. But it really has meant putting my career and work goals and aspirations on the back burner. That's just the way it has to be right now. And that in itself, I felt guilty for saying I'm so bummed, or I'm so sad, or this sucks. Because it's all of those. It's, like I've learned in dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, which is a type of therapy that we've done with our daughter, is that two truths can be true at once, two completely opposite things, which is how life is, right? Like, it's beautiful that I can be here for my family and provide and be of comfort. And it sucks that I've had to off ramp and not fulfill my goals or my dreams or my wishes or things that make me feel really fulfilled at the time, right? Both of those can be true, and that's okay. Like, that's just the way life is. So I've learned a lot of things through therapy to get through this. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to get to a place where, because what I've learned is it's a marathon, and it's recovery for your children or your young adult children is not linear. And it's like a recovery if somebody has an addiction. It's ebbs and flows, and it can go really high and it can go really, really low. And so as a mom, learning to navigate that when life is going by you can get really disconcerting, and you can have the tendency to go like, life is passing me by. Look at my sister, or look at my best friend, and they're doing all this, what appears to be normal things, or look at, oh my God, they're going to that college, or look at her prom date, or look at her friend circle. And it can fuck you up, right? It really can. So, I've learned that you really have to take care of yourself in order to take care of your loved one. Like, that's the number one thing that I've learned. Like, I am no service to my daughter if I'm not okay. And it goes back to that damn putting your oxygen mask on. But it is the hardest freaking thing to do.
One thing that pops up is there's so much to unpack here, but one thing that pops up, and I know when my son, we didn't know if he had a heart condition way back when. He had about 8 fainting episodes from the age of like 5 to 11. And we didn't know if he had a serious heart condition. He like could pass out, and all sorts of fun places like the airplane and school. And I spent so many times in emergency rooms that I felt like I couldn't function until I knew that he was okay and that he wasn't like dying or had some serious heart condition. It turns out he kind of grew out of this. And that was like after going to millions of doctors in Stanford and this and that, he had undiagnosed fainting after all that and all the stress, and almost giving my mom a heart attack from fainting in front of him. But I know the hardest thing for me, and this is the question I have for you, is that when you feel like your child is in danger, and I don't know that the men, they're there and they're supportive, but I know I actually got into fights with my husband about this. I said, if I'm going to stay up all night with him to make sure he's okay, it's what I'm going to do. And don't tell me not to be stressed, and don't tell me not to be caring. Don't tell me that everything's okay. Like, how did you reconcile that when you think that, you're just, you're on pins and needles with your child and you don't know that they're okay,
Mm-hmm.
yet you still have to function and you have another child to take care of,
Mm-hmm.
and a home and the whole 9 yards. Like, where did you find the strength or the tools or the basically the way to move forward when you feel like everything is so intense? I
Right.
know, and I know from personal experience, I've seen you and been there with you through some of these
Yeah.
more intense times. Like,
Yeah.
how did that go for you, Lizzie? Like,
Yeah. I
how did
mean,
you keep going forward?
whether it's, if you have a child that self-harms or suicide attempts or suicide ideation, that stuff is heavy, and there's no easy way through it. it is the most humbling and I'd say most difficult part of, I think, of my life, our life that we've experienced. And I think if I think about it, um, it's just head down, keep the blinders on, stay focused. I really believe you have to have some type of, for me, it's my faith as a Christian woman, um, to turn to because it feels insurmountable as you're going through some of the heavy stuff, and the scary stuff. There's a lot of fear. So for me, it was my faith. It was really, I feel like I got lucky having a really good partner that we are able to tag team a lot of the time when, I may be just like in the trenches where I'm like, I can't do this anymore, that he can come in, you know, and carry the baton, for the next few days. And that we have this process where we can go back and forth. So having a really good partner, having some type of faith has helped me. And then just really just, getting off of social media, focusing on what's important, eliminating distractions, and realizing right now it seems like forever, but I know in the big picture, when I look back in 10 years, it'll be a blip. Um, and just keep like women, we are strong, this is what I've been called to do. I chose to be a mother. I have it in me. I know God gave me all the skill set that I need. I need to tap into it and harness it. So that's what I've done. There have been some horribly frightening and dark days and weeks and months. And those are the things that I did. And I get really quiet. I have to get really quiet because you're using every ounce of energy you have to get through the day. And at some point it's like, I'm just trying to get through the hour. Let's get to the next hour. Okay, we got through, 4 hours. Then we're going to get to the next, 8 hours, and just chunking it out, little by little. But you really do have to get rid of the distractions and get quiet and just be like, all right, it's go time. Like, I have it in me. And you do. I know there are times where I'm like, I can't do this. But we do. We have it, have the good cry, have some friends that you can lean into. And you get back up. You get back up because it's your kid.
And you brought up something just with motherhood and being strong. I think that nothing will test how strong we are when it comes to our kids.
Right.
Like, just when you think you couldn't go on or continue, like we'll dig deep. I mean, I think that's what, we were built for is,
Right.
The mama bear really comes out. And I know that, and it's almost a weird, just from my own experience of going, okay, I can do this. And I'll, it's that whole thing, like you'll lift up burning cars to save children and all this. You're like, I know in my heart you could leave like no stone unturned. And that you can count on yourself on that. So I think that's somehow comforting in some weird way. But something that just popped up to me, because I know when you and I would get, since I've known what you've been going through,
Mm-hmm.
and I would always ask, like, do you want to go to something? But I would also say, and I think this is important, I'm going to get to a point, trust me, because this is something we can offer to people out there. If you're not going through something yourself, somebody who is, for sure. Is that when I would ask Lizzie to do something, like, do you want to go do this thing? Knowing what she had going on at home. So I'm like, I'm offering this up as an escape and a way out. And I would always say, and do not stress and like say no, like just say
Right.
no if this isn't the right thing.
Right.
So I think that was kind of, I remember you had said something to me too, like that was like a nice way for you to be like, okay, well, if it doesn't work, or you would say, I can't tell you until 10 minutes before the event starts. Like,
Right.
that's cool. Like, that's
Right.
cool.
I think what happens too, which is hard because whether, your kid is dealing with severe mental health, whether it's addiction, drug use, ADHD. Um, People don't know how to help, or people don't know what to do. And so a lot of times what they do, thinking they're doing the best thing, is they just kind of take a step back
Yeah.
because they don't know what to say, and they don't know what to do. And I think the best thing you can do as a friend or as a loved one is to keep showing up for that person and saying, I don't know how to help you, but I am here and I'm checking in on you. And that's it. A voicemail, a text, an email. Um, that's so huge, because when you're going through it, like I can self-isolate as a coping mechanism, which is an unhealthy coping mechanism many times. And when I do that, I push, I push people away. Like, I don't want to be Debbie Downer when I'm around people. That's like the last thing I want to be, or feel needy. You kind of have to be Debbie Downer and accept the help. And that can be really, really difficult. That's been one of my biggest challenges.
I think in general for women to throw their hands up in the air and ask for help and accept the
Yeah.
help, it's really hard, especially for, I know most people listening, we've been the hard charging ones taking care of everyone, and to say,
Yeah.
okay, uncle, and allow yourself that space and give yourself that grace is probably like the most important thing we're going to talk about today, because we've got to allow people to help us.
And I think why it's been so hard is I want to go back and say, when the girls were younger, when we had babies and toddlers, asking for help was so much easier because, you're like, I'm a new mom and I've got, multiple children and I'm trying to work and I'm trying to do this, and then things get easier as your kids grow and they're more independent. And so you're not as dependent on childcare or somebody coming in to help. So going back to that place where I need reinforcements, I need help, that feels foreign also. That feels like, why am I asking for help when I've been doing it all this time? That was also compounds it. It makes it difficult to ask for help because you haven't needed the help for so long.
Totally. You're making me think of something too, and just the stress and pressure it can put on a relationship. And so
What pressure? What stress are you talking about?
I just remember almost throwing things at my husband's head over the years for many, many different reasons. Like, but what I did say to him is like, I will never, ever question my gut maternal instincts in anything related to our children. And I don't care if that means you leave me, find a new woman, walk out, want a divorce. I don't care. And it was very clarifying. We had a couple different blowouts over the years because of it. So I'm curious, because I know when you have children who are dealing with either chronic illness, mental health issues,
Mhm.
there's strain on marriage anyway, just existing and just
Right.
being married and living your life, but it puts extra added stress. So
Oh, yeah.
what have been some coping mechanisms you and we call him Airport Todd. What have you guys
Beside
done?
poisoning him? No. It puts a huge, 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 huge strain. It's so funny. One of the outpatient programs we did was dialectical behavioral therapy, which some people might be familiar with. And one of the days of the week when we would go to therapy, we'd meet up with other families that are also in the program. And I'm always, when I walk into a room, I'm usually quiet and I'm just kind of like scanning the room and taking inventory and watching people's mannerisms. And you can see on every mother and father that was in that room the tension in that couple, because it's such an emotionally charged time, right? And you've got a lot going on. Um, what have been some of my coping mechanisms? I mean, it's been probably one of my saving graces, which not everybody can do, is we were fortunate enough to have my daughter go to summer camp, and I took 3 weeks away by myself. by myself. I went away to out of state to another city. And that was, what I called radical self-care. It was absolutely restorative for me, and I needed that. But as couples, man, you just, I think what saved us also is my husband, sitting me down and going like, I know we're not agreeing right now, but we are on the same team. Our mission is the same. We want our daughter to live and to survive another day. We are on the same fucking team. I am your ally. And once I, like, okay, sometimes I need to be reminded of that. Sometimes I'm like, okay, we might not be in agreement about, this type of treatment or whether she should be in school or not. But ultimately, we, same end goal, same end goal. And if I can just keep going back to that, that has helped me a lot. And when you're at your lowest low and you see people step up, like I've seen my husband step up, like in ways that I never thought were humanly possible. You realize like, gosh, there's nothing but love, and he wants the same thing. So that takes away some of that frustration of like, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to choke him today. But it's not easy. I think if you really have to, you have to work hard. And that's what I'm saying. You have to get tunnel vision because you're working hard to keep your kid alive or help your kid. And you're working hard to keep your marriage alive because it's incredibly, incredibly stressful.
Thank you for sharing that. You got me teary when you said like you have the same goal. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really important. So if it's, your husband, your partner, family members, if you're going it alone, but so many single moms I know are dealing with things
Right.
to dang have that
Yeah.
support, and shout out, hats off to all the single moms, like literally, right. Oh my God. That, getting on the same page, and coming back to that common goal. And and it can be funny too. I just remember thinking back in second grade how I had to march into a teacher, and this was second grade homework, almost caused divorce. So it was like homework packets. I'm like, this is not how we're going to go down. This is not how we're going to go out. And that was homework packets. This was nothing about, when my son was going through all of his stuff and having like real depression and anxiety around like all the residual effects of having all this like heart stuff happening. And it's really important, to come back and, and if you don't have that team member, like you've got to find like your person, if it's your mom, your sister, or
Right.
somebody to give you that support. I want to turn it around to just the self-care piece for you. So I know you've done a lot. And again, there's so many women listening who need resources and support. So you said you went on a sabbatical. So what were some of the things that you did to kind of come back to you, put your air mask on so then you could be able to parent and do this without having, because I know, sidebar, being a caregiver, whether it's for a child or an aging parent, we all know the stats on that and like the extreme load that puts on us and the mental load. So what were some of those things that you did and some of the resources you tapped into to, I'll put in parentheses, stay sane,
Right.
and really come back to you and make sure that you are, 100% dealing with all what you're dealing with?
Therapy. I think that was the first thing that I did. And we were doing a lot of therapy with our daughter and as a family. But therapy just for myself, that was the first thing. And that was incredibly hard for me to do initially. Like, oh my God, I need to take, time to go there and share and dig deep and be raw. And like, that just seemed so intense and over. Like, I'm raw already. I'm afraid. Now you're going to strip me down even more. But that was one of the best things was getting and finding a good therapist. And I didn't find one immediately. So you don't always find one your first go at it. So don't give up if you're looking for a therapist. Walking has been really good. I like to walk. I live here in San Francisco. There's plenty of places I can walk. Getting outdoors, reading, like doing things that I know that I find comforting, that I've always found comforting. So for me, that's reading a book. it could be fiction, it could be self-help. But doing that. The other thing that has been really healing and good for me is music and live music. And my daughter, one of the things that she does love is live music. So I've probably have gone to more concerts in the last 2.5 years than I have in a lifetime. But I feel like music, whether it's live, whether it's in your earbuds, or in your kitchen while you're cleaning, is incredibly healing. All kinds of music. So music has been really good. I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's helped me kind of get back to myself and take care of myself. So those things, as long as I'm getting some vitamin D, getting outside, moving my body, talking to my therapist, finding time for myself to just be quiet, just like to do nothing, like that's sacred to me. I can just, sit in my chair and just, when things are just feel like horribly out of control and chaotic, I think one of the biggest gifts you can give to yourself is just like some peace and serenity. And you can get that by just going to a chair in your room or the ground and just getting quiet. I find that incredibly, incredibly healing for myself.
Thank you for sharing all that. I know there's something with the music too, right? It's probably somebody I should have on the podcast to talk about the power of that. But
Yeah.
I think for you, this is Dr. Marple's anecdotal, because I've done this myself where you're like, things are just too heavy. You can't talk about anything anymore. And there's something so therapeutic about just singing and dancing and
Yeah.
listening to live music. It has this otherworldly, transformative experience. And I think it's doubly great that you could do that with your daughter. So it's probably healing for her as well.
For both of us. Yeah, absolutely.
I know you were doing like the Lollapalooza tour. Was that last summer?
That was last summer. We may do it again this summer, 4 days of live music and standing for hours at the barricade. I do love live music. I was a concert goer all my life, but it is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
No, those festivals, not anymore. Like, okay, how bad do we want to see Chapel Roan? Okay, let's go do it.
Exactly.
Anything. And total sidebar, because I know you like music, so every once in a while, to listen, like, what do we need? Lunch? Karaoke?
Exactly.
Cocktails? Like, what do you need?
And I think the other thing that I had to do too, Jen, was my own mental health came into play. Like I've go through in and out of bouts of depression. So like you really have to, the self-care is huge. You really have to be tapped into your own health, and going through menopause is just like another nice little monkey wrench in there as well. So, what is it? I'm on antidepressants as I speak. I wasn't the last few months, but it just kind of like there are times where things just seem to feel like they're unraveling and I could feel myself starting to go down with the ship, and I'm like, nope, I gotta take care of myself. And that's also one of the ways that's helped me. And I know that's controversial to some people. And if you're considering it, it's been a godsend for me. So between the therapy and the medication, it's been huge.
Well, thank you for sharing that and being so came and talk today, vulnerable. And I think everybody does what is right for them.
Yeah.
And I've taken medication, therapy, like the whole nine yards. I think the more we talk about it, the more we destigmatize and demystify all the tools that are at our fingertips. And you mentioned too, and we know with menopause too. And I think there's so many things going on at this phase in life that we've simply we've got to talk about them, and we've got to share the knowledge, like you said. And going back to what you said at the very beginning of this conversation of this, this duality, and two things can be true at once. Like, what is it? Glennon Doyle says life can be brutal. So it's, parts can be super brutal and then equally beautiful. And I think we just need to remember that. But I'm so glad you came on today to talk about this, because I know I'm like leaning into some of these, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's May, and we just came off Mother's Day, and everything is so fraught. I'm like, let's have a deep meaningful conversation. And thank you for being so open and sharing your story because it's not an easy thing to do, but it's in service. This podcast and everything I know you are doing with your work is in service of other women. So I really appreciate that you were so open because I know this conversation is going to change somebody's life because I don't, yeah, I not on my watch, not on Lizzie's watch, do we want anybody to feel like they're alone and they don't have women out there.
It's very isolating when you're going through some type of crisis with your child. For something like shame comes to the surface, and you don't know who to trust, who to turn to. Like I said, I live in San Francisco. I felt so alone. It feels horribly isolating. And then you have to muddle your way through the medical system, which is a friggin' nightmare, which is a whole other situation. It's, yeah, you feel like, who can I, where, nobody knows what I'm going through. There's nobody in the world that understands this. And there are people, that do. I was, a part of an online community called Hope Stream, which if there's somebody that feels alone and wants experts or other mothers that are going through stuff, it's a great online community with a bazillion and one resources. I highly, highly recommend that. And if you can't, I think it's like $100 a month. And if you can't afford the monthly subscription to that, they can work with you on that. And then there's also Facebook groups as well. There's a lot of Facebook groups that women and men and moms, parents can turn to for some help and feeling less alone.
I love that. Thank you for mentioning the isolation piece of it because that is true. And it's almost ironic that in our super duper connected society that we're still feeling alone and disconnected. But you have to go out of your comfort zone and go and search out these groups like you're saying, because that's the only way we get through it is by being with other parents and other women who have been in the exact same situation, because only they will only you can be supported truly by other women and families who are going through the same thing. Because I have my own stuff, but I have not dealt with what you're dealing with. And so I wouldn't assume that
I've had conversations. I've had some of the most intimate, raw, honest conversations with women I've never met face to face, just on the phone, just because one of my best friends will say, hey, I know this gal that I used to work with and her son X, Y, and Z, or I know. And she's like, I'm going to put you in touch. And there's something about connecting with someone who has been through the trenches that just gets it, because the stuff that you go through is banana bonkers. It's so fucking crazy that you're just like, I can't even share this with people because they will not get it. But when you've gone through it, to find another parent who has, there's something, that just, you're not alone. They get it. They can be of some comfort to you.
Oh, I love that. And it's like being a lifeline for each other. So
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
really important. Oh my God. Lizzie, well, my heart is with you always. You know that. So I will continue to always send you invitations and queries. And this is what we can offer up to our other friends who are, that's dealing with something. Just ask them, like you were saying before, that was such a beautiful piece of advice. Just say, I'm here for you, checking in on them, say, I'm going somewhere. Can you go? Understand if they can't go. Understand too, if people don't write you back. That was something that popped up earlier.
Right. Yeah.
Give your friends grace, because I saw this happen with some other friends that, oh, you don't care and you weren't reaching out. And meanwhile, this person was in crisis. So I think that's just a general rule for everything. It's just
absolutely,
let's give each other some grace.
There's one of the many things we learned in dialectical behavioral therapy was going under the assumption that everybody is doing their very best, or everybody is trying to do their very best. And if you can use that mindset as you go through life, it will give you a chance to take pause and be like, and not take things so personally as well. And then the other thing too, I literally just got out of probably a 2-week pity party a couple weeks ago. And one of the things I did was, okay, get back to like, look for all the good things, look for all the blessings you have right now in your life. And your brain is so powerful that it just goes looking for more. And so just like starting your day and ending your day with a gratitude journal or notes in your phone or scribbling them on a notepad, just, 3 things, 5 things, and just being like, okay. And it just piles on and you see more and more of the good and the beauty in your day instead of focusing on all the darkness and all the hard stuff, because it can get really, really dark.
Oh God, what a wonderful way to end. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for having this conversation. I knew
You're
I
welcome.
had a hit. I'm like, this is a conversation that needs to be had coming off of Mother's Day, Mental Health Awareness Month. And ladies, we're all carrying a lot of load. Get help, take advantage of what Lizzie was talking about, use those steps. I love the starting and look, for gratitude, starting and ending your day that way. And it's, if you're in an acute situation, what would you say to someone who's in an acute situation right now that, this too shall pass? Or like, I'm not going to even put words in your mouth.
Um, I just keep telling myself it's a marathon. It's a marathon. It's a marathon. Like really, like it's a marathon. And I really feel like my sense of what I'm grateful for has changed, right? Like I take inventory of all the little things a lot more because I'm just like, oh, this is so good. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep running. You got to keep, my girlfriend always says, just keep swimming, just, like Dory in Finding Nemo. That's when she calls and leaves me these voice memos. She's like, just keep swimming. I'm like, okay. That's all I can do really is just keep swimming.
Oh, I love it. So is it safe to say for the closing shout out for You're Not Too Fucking Old too, would it be You're Not Too Fucking Old to keep swimming?
Yeah.
Oh, what
Well,
would you say?
you're not too fucking old. Uh, to do the hard thing, right? To do the hard, because it's hard. It's really, really hard. And like you said, everybody's going through something. Whether they talk about it is a totally different thing. People love to put on these, you know, personas and images. Um, but life is hard and it will test you at some point. At some point. And you're not too fucking old to do it, to do that hard thing. You will get through it. You have it in you.
I love that. That's a really powerful way to end. Well, thank you for being here. We're going to link some of the resources Lizzie talked about in the show notes. But if people aren't already following you and in your world, where can they find you, support you, and get more of your positivity midlife message? But it's not all positivity. We talk about the real stuff.
Right, right.
The real stuff.
I've had to, take a pause on a lot of content creation. So I'm occasionally on Instagram at LizzieBTV is my handle. And I'm also on TikTok sporadically as well. One of the things that I'm currently at this stage that I'm in is trying to push more content out and be creative because for me, that makes me feel good. I love having a creative outlet. But having to do it in smaller steps as opposed to, doing these really big things. So doing something like this is huge. I haven't done a podcast episode in a very, very long time. So doing something like this is huge for me. So doing more things that kind of push the needle forward. That's what I'm doing right now. So I'm here and there.
I love it. And you can go back into the back catalog of Lizzie's great content too, because she's super fun. We had a very serious conversation today, but I will also tell you and remind you, if you've been listening to the show for a while, we have rapped on the streets of New York together with our other friend, Julie. And we still need to have a karaoke date because that hasn't happened and that needs to happen. But yeah, it's It's the good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the sad. It's all of it. It's midlife. It's where we are. And we can do the hard thing, like you just said. So thanks for being on here. Everybody go follow Lizzie so you can see what she's up to. And when she comes back and pours the juice and the fire back on her Instagram,
Yeah.
you'll already be in her world. So
And slip into my DMs if you have questions.
I am DMs.
Yeah, I am an open book. I love helping other women or other parents that feel alone, because I've turned to people online that I've seen that they've gone through things and have found friends on Instagram as well. So
Oh, I love that. That's very generous of you. So please take advantage. She wants to.
yeah.
So I love
Absolutely.
you so much.
Oh, I love you too. I love you too.
Being here today, and I wish you could go out with me tonight.
I know, I can't.
But you can't. Princess. I know. I knew when I asked. I said, "Can you meet you?" It's like, it's fine. I'll keep asking. Asking because that's what friends do. So go check in on your friends, everyone. Take care of yourself. Give yourself a hug. Give yourself grace. And Lizzie, I just love you and adore you, and you're my girl. And we will.
Thank you. I love you too, girl.
We'll talk soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.